Acute coronary occlusion also blood flow completely stop in coronary vessel and only small collateral flow is present and area of muscle. So this is like when MI forms, we may think that we have said already that collateral circulation is life saving, but here what happens, the area of infarction is very high than the collaterals form, means most of the muscle got infarcted, so even the collaterals are formed, there is of no use. So then in that case what happens, let us see. So the area of muscle will zero flow or little flow and infarcted, so process is mainly called as myocardial infarction. So next the collaterals start and the vessels dilate, leading to increase in stagnant blood over there. So because of this collaterals, there is also like another problem, like more stagnant blood is increasing and the muscle uses like, but muscle uses it because it's like an emergency condition now, so muscle uses all the oxygen and the blood, and finally only the deoxygenated blood is remain now because all of it is used completely, so forming a bluish brown hue, and blood vessels appear engorged despite lack of blood flow within few hours, and there is no blood flow and the cardiac muscle dies completely. So normal cardiac muscle require 1.3 milliliter per oxygen per 100 grams per minute to remain alive, and 8 milliliter oxygen per 100 grams per minute for the left ventricle is required for contraction. So this oxygen control, everything is lost now, it may lead to death of a myocardium. So now let us see what is subendocardial infarction. Here there is like always remember, in subendocardial infarction, subendocardial vessels always require, they have high oxygen requirement and also they require high blood flow and compressed by mainly systolic contraction, we know this already. So if any of area of heart decrease the blood flow, first the subendocardial tissues vessels get damaged and spread outward to the epicardium. So this is very important. So you can see like subendocardial infarction as a sign of myocardial infarction, because whenever there is higher ischemia or whenever there is low blood flow to any part of heart, first the subendocardial vessels get affected because they need high oxygen and high blood flow. So if they don't have at least for some time high blood flow and high oxygen, first they get affected, first they get infarcted. And next let us see what are the causes of death after acute coronary occlusion, why people are dying after acute coronary occlusion. So the most common cause is MI, as we discussed. After occlusion, most common cause is MI, and because of this there is decrease in cardiac output, there is damming or stagnating of blood in pulmonary blood vessels. So because of this, whenever there is back pressure increasing towards our left atrium, it may lead to increase in hydrostatic pressure in our pulmonary veins. So because of this, it may lead to pulmonary edema, and fibrillation of heart may takes place, abnormal rhythms start forming in the heart, and also finally rupture of heart. And the remaining one, let us see in our second part. So back to our video, let us continue our part, this part. So you can see the stages of recovery from acute myocardial infarction. So can a myocardial infarction patient can undergo recovery, how that process goes on, let us see. So first you can see the area of ischemic area. If ischemic area is small, that is it's like just little or no death of the muscle has taken place. So but in this case also the muscle will be affected due to decrease in nutrition, because here you can see little ischemia, even little ischemia, low blood supply, low nutrients, low oxygen, so the muscle gets affected. So if we see the diagram, we can clearly understand. So here you can see this is, here you can see the little ischemia. If there is little ischemia, then there's no certain problem. But you can see if the area of ischemia is large, like this, you can see here this red part has increased, the area of ischemia is very large, you can see here. So if the area of ischemia is large, the center area cells die rapidly within just 1 to 3 hours. You can see this is the center area cells, they are died, and the total cessation of blood flow take place. So here around this dead fibers, you can see some violet color, this is around this is a non-functional area with the failure of contraction and the failure of impulse conduction. So here this non-functional area, hence the name non-functional, it is not functional because it can't contract anymore, and also it can't generate the action potentials or impulses. And next comes another area, you can see this is a mild ischemic area, where you can see there is still the muscle can contract here, but only weak contractions due to the mild ischemia caused by the myocardial infarction. Now let us see how the replacement of dead tissue is done by scar. So you can see here the mild ischemia is mainly supplied by collaterals. So because of that small blood flow only, still somewhat blood flow is going on, so the contraction is weak. And next you have seen the non-functional area. It also can recover and become functional again, or also it may die. So the fibroid tissue may develop because ischemia stimulates the growth of fibroblasts, and also it promotes the development of increase in fibrous tissue. So whenever ischemia promotes the development of fibrous tissue, this grows smaller over a period of several months to year, and finally other parts of cardiac muscle may undergo hypertrophy. Why other parts undergo hypertrophy is, now you can see here the fibrous tissue is formed, so it's now very hard for the heart to pump against it, so it undergoes hypertrophy to compensate the scar area. So the heart recovers either partially or sometimes even completely within few months. So the recovery is possible in the case of infarction, but only acute. You can see the term there, acute. If it is chronic, we can't do anything because it may lead to heart attack. So you can say in exercise, severe emotion, fatigue, there is higher oxygen requirement, not only to our skeletal muscles but also even to our cardiac muscle, and also it also requires high nutrients. So anastomosing blood vessels also should supply them, because only here now, in the case of this infarction, acute infarction, only those small amount of blood supply is not sufficient, because even though there is still mild ischemia undergoing, so anastomosing blood vessels also should supply them. And in exercise or whenever the metabolism is very high, you can understand the heart muscle, that is myocardium, undergoes dilation, especially its musculature undergoes lot of dilation. So because of the dilation, so blood comes more to this area. So because as now, so that it can supply more blood to even other parts of the heart and further decrease the blood flow to ischemic area. So now you can understand what is the problem is, now other areas of the heart is getting more blood supply because it has got dilated during exercise or heavy metabolism, but the ischemic area is now not at all getting the blood flow because now it is not functional. So because of this reason the ischemic area gets worsened, and this is called coronary steal syndrome. So what is coronary steal syndrome is, whenever a person with the acute MI undergoes any strenuous exercise, or whenever his metabolism is very high, or any emotional reactions, so because of this there is more blood flow to other parts of the heart rather than this ischemic area. So this leads to worsening the condition of ischemic area. So this is mainly called as coronary steal syndrome. So treatment is very important, especially that is nothing. The important treatment in the case of this acute MI is rest, because the more rest, if the person doesn't do any exercise, the more rest he take, the more he can recover. Because you can understand, whenever he is in rest, there is no higher oxygen demand and no higher blood flow demand, so that ischemic area can only undergo proper recovery. So acute myocardial infarction, best treatments is to take the rest. And after recovery may be normal, but pumping capacity is declined. Even after recovery the person may live, but his pumping capacity is low when compared with a normal healthy person, but they should avoid the strenuous works if possible. So normal heart at rest pumps, like about that 300 to 400% per minute. That is a cardiac, that is also called as cardiac reserve. So now you can understand how much the heart will pump. So now you can understand if any infarction or any other heart disease, then the blood flow and the cardiac output for sure will decreases. So that is how it affects our whole body. And pain, actually why the pain comes in an ischemia, let us see this now. Ischemia releases acid which cause severe pain, especially lactic acid, and also it may release some substances like vasodilation substances like histamine and also kinins, and also some proteolytic enzymes are also released. See, because of this all enzymes and proteins, it is sending the pain via the sensory efferents to our central nervous system. So because of this we get the pain. And angina pectoris, we already seen, it's a progressive constriction of coronary arteries. Why this takes place is due to progressive constriction. Constriction means low blood flow, and this is leading to increase in load to the heart. Because constriction means blood pressure is increasing because of increase in total peripheral resistance. So even the load to the heart is increased, and it is felt beneath the upper sternum, and it radiates to the left arm, left shoulder, neck, left neck, or whole neck, and also to the left part of the face. So because of the same pain fibers carry them, so even you can radiate this pain to all this left side of parts. above the heart. And in angina pectoris, many get it in exercise or emotions normally. Even though they have the ischemia, they may not they're not unaware at that time, but whenever they do heavy exercise or they're having any emotional attacks, then this pain may come out, especially during increase in metabolism. The vessels get constricted, so sympathetic vasoconstriction nerve signals are passed, and this is leading to constriction and further increase in pain because of increase in more lactic acid. So angina pectoris also increase after eating full meals or full food. If your stomach is full, because if you eat more food, now heart has lot of work to take those all nutrients, and also heart has now lot of work to send more blood to the GIT now to undergo digestion, all those process. So even already heart is in ischemia. Now if you are eating more food, then you can understand heart is like in under severe stress now to send lot of blood to the GIT. And also when you're walking towards colder temperatures, because in colder temperatures, in turn already because of ischemia and all these problems, your vessels are constricted, and if you're again going in cold temperature, vessels again further get constricted. So because of all this reason, it in turn increases lot of workload to the heart. So the pain is for minute long. The pain is it may be for some minutes, or also sometimes will be for long time, or sometimes all the time also the pain may be there. So the pain is like hot pressing towards the heart, constricting, and the patient stop all unnecessary body activities. Like he'll get all its focus directly, he will focus on the heart side, because all that is the pain which is like so severe pain. So the treatments which when we can give is vasodilators. Like short acting vasodilators, we have nitroglycerin and also other nitrates, whereas others like angiotensin converting inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers, and also we have our calcium channel blockers, ranolazine. So all this can be used as treatment. And we also have the prolonged treatment. For prolonged treatment, like beta blockers, like propranolol. They block the sympathetic beta adrenergic receptors. Mainly beta adrenergic receptors are related with vasodilation. So because of they block the vasodilation receptors, and also you know can also decrease severity of pain, and also it can also decrease the severity of pain in the heart and also severe attacks. And next, let us see how can we do the surgical treatment for this patient. So here we have actually three options, like aortic coronary bypass, or we can do angioplasty, or can put some stents, or also we can do the laser treatment. So let us see. First, aortic coronary bypass is the most common one in many patients with ischemia. We do this, especially the constricted areas of coronary arteries. Only few are atherosclerosis, but other are normal. So what we do, a section of subcutaneous vein from a leg or arm is put in direct connection to the aorta. So now you can see it can bypass, even though these coronary arteries are blocked by atherosclerosis now, because bypassing that from aorta, we are giving direct supply to the heart now, so that blood flow may increase. And also the peripheral coronary artery beyond atherosclerosis point. The next, coming to coronary angioplasty. So what is it? It's a small balloon is tipped with a catheter that is about 1 millimeter in diameter. So it is passed by a radiographic guidance. By using radiography, we see where it is going, and it is reaching mainly the occluded artery, and it is inflated like so. As the balloon is opening there, that atherosclerosis part is open, so that now the blood flow again starts. So this increases the it increases the pressure which stretch diseased artery, and later blood flow also increases like about 3 to 4 fold, and more than 75% of patients are relieved for several years by this process. And also small stainless steel tubes like stents are also placed inside the artery, so that the dilated by angioplasty to hold artery open, thus preventing restenosis. But sometimes in few patients restenosis also takes place, so later the endothelium grow on it and allow the smooth blood flow. But restenosis may occur in 25 to 40% patients, mainly with angioplasty within 6 months. So because of excessive growth of scar tissue. So actually what is the reason is, sometimes we can't predict it, because how their body react to that stent. So sometimes extra scar tissue, extra endothelium cell may grow, and that may lead to again restenosis. And but in stents also now we are improving the drug eluting drugs. So these are like they're coated with drugs, so that what happens, it tries to prevent this extra growth of scar tissue. So because of this, what happens is there is no chance of restenosis. So this is a good process. And next we also have laser beam technique, like directly we are targeting the atherosclerosis occlusion without damaging the rest of the arterial. So directly laser attack with some laser treatment, we directly attack on atherosclerosis. So we widely open the vessel so that now again the blood flow can start. So from our textbook only this one diagram is remaining. You can see this is a minute anastomosis. In normal coronary arterial system, we have small anastomosis. Anastomosis is what? It's like without having any capillaries, directly connecting the veins with the arteries. So you can see artery with vein, artery with veins. So directly connected without any capillary in between. That is the main, theory behind the anastomosis. So that's it. We have completed the coronary circulation.